Dishonest, violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers described the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious sex trafficking charges in a New York court.
What if Prince wasn't just warning us about Diddy? What if he was silenced before he could expose a network of power and corruption that reached the very top of the music world? It sounds impossible, yet every thread we've pulled since his 2016 tragedy leads back to the same people, the same names, and the same pattern. Diddy's empire has collapsed under federal indictments. Jay-Z and Beyoncé's names keep resurfacing in civil suits. And Prince, who once stood shoulder to shoulder with both men, left behind a trail of warnings that now sound more like confessions than prophecies.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
By late 2015, Prince was restless. He had spent decades fighting for control over his music, writing the word slave across his face in protest against record executives who owned his masters. That same year, he stunned the industry by signing a secretive deal with Jay-Z's streaming platform, Tidal. It was an alliance that didn't make sense to his closest advisors. Prince had always distrusted digital platforms, yet suddenly he was giving one company near total control. At the time, he said the Tidal team recognized the effort that real musicians put into their craft. But after his passing in April 2016, his estate discovered something shocking. There was no official agreement, no paperwork confirming that deal. What appeared to be an artist's act of independence quickly unraveled into a corporate nightmare. Within months, the estate accused Jay-Z's Tidal of falsifying documents to maintain exclusive rights to more than 500 of Prince's songs. Court filings described an equity term sheet that investigators called fabricated and backdated. Emails between Prince's representative Phaedra Ellis-Lampkins and Tidal executives didn't match the supposed contract. In other words, the evidence suggested the deal had been rewritten after Prince was gone. For a man who spent his life protecting his art from exploitation, it was the ultimate betrayal. And for Jay-Z, it was the beginning of a pattern that would follow him into the next decade. Jay-Z publicly lashed out through music, releasing Caught Their Eyes on his 444 album, taking aim at Prince's estate and at his former lawyer, Londell McMillan. He rapped, "I sat down with Prince, eye to eye. He told me his wishes before he passed." It was a lyrical defense, but also a warning. Jay-Z wanted the world to know he had been close to Prince in those final months. Yet the more he insisted he was honoring the late musician's wishes, the more questions surfaced about what exactly those wishes were. Why would Tidal risk forging a document for an artist whose catalog could bring massive lawsuits? Why did Prince's team say they'd uncovered a scam designed to cheat him posthumously? And why did Prince's private files, reportedly containing evidence of his business dealings, vanish after his home was searched by investigators?
I'm sorry, I'm just I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
Insiders who worked with him at Paisley Park say Prince had begun compiling records, contracts, and personal notes about industry behavior just weeks before his passing. According to one source close to the estate, he was preparing to expose criminal activities at the highest levels of music and entertainment. The official report labeled his passing an accidental overdose, but the timing raised alarms. It occurred mere days before he planned to meet with federal lawyers about what he called corporate corruption and moral crimes. That phrase, moral crimes, would come to haunt his legacy. Fast forward to 2025, and Diddy's empire has finally collapsed. The FBI and federal prosecutors have charged him with racketeering, trafficking, and obstruction as part of what they described as a coercive criminal enterprise. Witnesses have come forward with stories of his infamous freak-off gatherings, lavish, secretive parties filled with high-profile guests, heavy substances, and cameras allegedly used for leverage. In one of the civil suits filed this year, an accuser named Jay-Z and Beyoncé as witnesses at a 2015 Miami event. The claim was later amended, removing their names, but only after headlines connected them to the same network Prince had once warned about. For those following the timeline, the overlap is chilling. That alleged party happened in April 2015. The same month, Prince was finalizing his Tidal exclusivity with Jay-Z and attending private meetings about new alliances in the business.
And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
Prosecutors allege that Diddy's associates used recordings of those private gatherings to control careers and silence people. Lawyers representing multiple victims have said hundreds of hours of footage were seized, implicating figures far beyond Diddy's inner circle. Federal filings describe a web of celebrity witnesses, many who have refused to testify. And while Jay-Z and Beyonce have not been accused of wrongdoing, their presence in those early documents has sparked questions that refuse to go away. When reporters pressed for comment, their representatives dismissed it as nonsense. Yet even Piers Morgan, after repeating similar claims from a guest on his show, was forced to issue an on-air apology. Proof that legal teams are working aggressively to keep this story contained. Still, the coincidences keep piling up. The same year Prince aligned himself with Tidal, Diddy hosted a series of white parties and freak-offs described in multiple lawsuits as recruitment grounds for coercive acts. Celebrities from every corner of the industry attended, believing them to be elite social events. Beyonce and Jay-Z even debuted music at one of those parties. According to insiders, Prince was horrified by what he saw behind the scenes and began referring privately to a shadow network in entertainment. People who traded secrets, favors, and human leverage. He warned friends that certain stars had sold out their morals for access. When Diddy's empire finally imploded years later, many of those same friends started revisiting Prince's final statements with new eyes. Meanwhile, the feud between Jay-Z and Prince's estate hasn't faded. Court records show that as recently as 2024, attorneys for the estate were still seeking damages over Tidal's alleged exploitation of Prince's catalog. What looked like a fight over streaming rights has evolved into something much larger, a struggle over narrative control. Jay-Z has insisted he is being misrepresented, portraying himself as a victim of greedy heirs. But the estate claims it's not about money anymore. It's about truth. They argue that Prince's final business moves were manipulated by those who wanted him silent, and that his files, if ever found, could expose an entire network.
They were referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil, Astroglide, candles, incense, liquor.
And that's where everything starts to connect. Prince passes just as he's preparing to talk. Diddy is later indicted for orchestrating events that match the very descriptions Prince used in private. Jay-Z's company faces accusations of forged contracts. Beyonce's name appears, then vanishes, from a federal complaint. One after another, the coincidences form a pattern that can't be ignored. Sources close to law enforcement say they're reviewing archived communication between Diddy, Roc Nation, and other affiliated entities. What they find could redefine what we thought we knew about the intersection of fame, power, and silence in modern music. The most unsettling detail may be this. Prince's estate isn't just fighting for ownership of his songs. They're still pushing for access to encrypted drives believed to contain his notes, recordings, and personal testimony about the industry figures he no longer trusted. If those files exist, and insiders insist they do, they could answer the question that's haunted this story for nearly a decade. If Prince was silenced to stop him from talking, who else knew what he was about to reveal?
Just different things that's not really beef though. That's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
Okay,
like that.
damn, all right.
Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't just witness these parties, they were allegedly organizers. And the evidence is starting to pile up. The moment those court filings began circulating in late 2024, the story changed from speculation to a pattern. First came the resurfaced lawsuit from the year 2000, accusing Jay-Z and Diddy of violating a 13-year-old girl at a private post-VMA gathering. The documents described a limousine pickup, a secluded house, and powerful men who thought they were untouchable. Jay-Z didn't deny being there. Instead, he called it a blackmail attempt, dismissing the entire case as extortion. That wasn't a denial, it was a deflection. The language was careful, rehearsed, the kind of precision only used when there's something to hide. And as the months passed, that calculated silence began to echo louder than any admission.
Diddy, as we know, is into those things. That's in the indictment. Cassie has not denied it, but they've came out and said, that Diddy used to like to watch Cassie. That's what he's into. Some men like to do that stuff. There's not a crime in that. But yes, Ray J, from what I was told, from being inside at the highest level, that Jay-Z likes to watch Beyonce with different men, such as Ray J.
By the start of 2025, new lawsuits added fuel to the fire. The freak-off accusations painted a scene so disturbing that even seasoned investigators reportedly struggled to process it. One man claimed he was abducted, sedated, and paraded through a mansion full of celebrities. In the middle of it all, according to the filing, stood Beyonce, allegedly asking, "What's this? What's happening?" as the victim stood half-dressed before her. The alleged response from one of Diddy's men still chills us. "This is what we do to snitches." The image is grotesque, and while the accuser later removed Beyonce's name from his amended lawsuit, the damage was done. For millions watching from the outside, the question lingered: why was her name there to begin with? LeBron James's name appeared in the same court papers, only for his representatives to claim he was playing basketball in Cleveland at the exact time of the alleged event. The FBI verified that Jay-Z was seen publicly in New York that week, speaking about Tidal. But that only raised another uncomfortable question. If these events were so private, so secret, why do so many A-listers keep getting mentioned? Someone inside these circles keeps naming the same constellation of stars, linking music, money, and control into one shadowy network. Whether by coincidence or design, the web always leads back to the same trio: Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyonce. Behind the lawsuits, the money trail tells an even darker story. In late 2016, just months after Prince's passing, Jay-Z reportedly offered $40 million to buy his entire music catalog. The meeting took place in New York, with Prince's sister Tyka Nelson and her husband flown in to discuss the deal. It collapsed almost instantly. The estate didn't trust him, and within weeks, Jay-Z was accused of streaming Prince's work without authorization. That's when Tidal was hit with the fraud allegations, the same ones claiming documents were faked and backdated to look legitimate. What looked like an ambitious business deal began to feel like an act of desperation. Prince had been the only artist powerful enough to say no to everyone, and Jay-Z wanted the last word on his legacy.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on right now.
The deeper we look, the more these motives intertwine. Londell McMillan, Prince's former lawyer, negotiated a $31 million deal with Universal Music for unreleased tracks. That contract later imploded, and McMillan and his partner reportedly took home over $3 million in commissions before the deal collapsed. The question still lingers. Who truly profited from Prince's sudden tragedy? Jay-Z wanted the catalog. McMillan got paid. Diddy's circle kept hosting parties with the same faces, the same silence. And Prince, who had started collecting notes, emails, and financial ledgers, was gone before any of it could surface. Industry veterans say Jay-Z's empire was built on control. When Prince pulled away from Tidal, the pressure mounted. When his estate challenged the streaming rights, lawsuits exploded. Around the same time, Diddy's world of freak-offs was becoming an open secret, whispered about in corridors from LA to Miami. One former assistant described it as a network of loyalty, fear, and footage. That last word, footage, keeps coming up. Federal agents seized hours of recordings from Diddy's properties, allegedly used for leverage against artists, executives, and politicians. Insiders claim those drives contain names, faces, and acts that could end careers. If true, it explains why so many powerful people are staying silent. Jay-Z and Beyonce's legal teams have dismissed every allegation linking them to these events, calling them fabrications meant for attention. But silence in the court of public opinion rarely ends a scandal. It only feeds it. Even Piers Morgan's on-air apology last month couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. After a guest accused the couple of being involved in Diddy's private operations, their lawyers moved fast. Morgan edited the segment and publicly retracted the claim, admitting it had no basis in fact. But the swiftness of that legal strike drew even more attention. Why so much fear over words if there was truly nothing to hide?
Very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if you know. Listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about on my show. Is someone going to knock on my door one day? Is my car going to blow up? Because
when we step back and connect the dots, the pattern is hard to ignore. Diddy is now sitting behind bars awaiting a federal trial. His empire has been gutted, his assets frozen, his reputation destroyed. Yet the names that keep orbiting him, Jay-Z, Beyonce, even Prince before him, remain protected, untouched by the same scrutiny. It's as if the industry itself built walls to keep certain people safe. The same luxury jets, the same lawyers, the same executives who managed Diddy's ventures also handled deals for Roc Nation and Ivy Park. The same shell companies appear in filings connected to properties in Miami and Los Angeles. And still, the public narrative stays focused on Diddy alone. Insiders whisper that Prince's encrypted drives, still locked away under court seal, hold information that could break everything open. One former associate said he'd seen drafts of letters Prince planned to send to federal investigators outlining how certain artists and moguls use fear, contracts, and hidden footage to control people. Those letters never left Paisley Park. After his passing, the estate couldn't locate them. The official explanation was misplacement. But several sources claim the drives were confiscated during the early dispute over his estate, before the banks took over as administrators. If those files surface, the shockwaves could reach the highest levels of entertainment. Even now, attorneys for Prince's heirs say their legal fight isn't about royalties anymore. It's about truth. They believe he stumbled onto evidence of the same enterprise now at the center of Diddy's case. That's why he broke from Tidal. That's why he refused to sign over his catalog. And that's why, according to some who knew him best, he kept warning that the industry's biggest stars were part of something far more sinister than a contract dispute. It's a claim that once sounded like paranoia. Today, it sounds prophetic.
Man, I feel good, man. I feel good way before the sentencing, and I'm gonna feel good way after it. You know what I'm saying? That the sentencing don't have anything to do with how I feel. It just goes me to show that tells me when God puts you in a position and puts you in a place to be involved in something, his word ain't never wrong.
And that brings us here, to the point where the rumors meet reality. Prince's warnings, Diddy's downfall, the lawsuits naming Jay-Z and Beyonce, the missing files, all of it forms a timeline of secrets waiting to implode. The courtroom dramas, the sealed evidence, the frantic denials, they aren't just about one man's fall from grace. They're about a system built to protect the powerful and punish anyone who dares to expose them. Prince saw it coming and he tried to sound the alarm. So we have to ask. Prince warned us. Diddy is in jail, but Jay-Z and Beyonce are still free and their names keep surfacing in lawsuit after lawsuit. How many more stories have to emerge before someone finally asks what they really knew and when they knew it? We'll be watching every move, every filing, every silence. Because in this story, the truth isn't buried. It's just waiting for the right voice to sing it out. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, in the world of fame, nothing is ever really what it seems.